Good morning, Dual Coast fans. Hope everybody's doing well out there. We got Russ with a different background this morning. He looks like he's doing well over there. He's all hyped up.
Yeah, I'm on Coke. I'm on Coke this morning.
Not that kind. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, well, hanging out in Big Modesto, California.
That's
my mom's
right.
house.
Russ a little bit up north this morning. Different setting for him. Hope he's doing well over there.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to bed at a normal time that I normally try to go to bed on Monday nights, because obviously I got to get up around 4:45 in the morning.
Yes.
And so, going to bed, I was hanging out with my mom, my son. My son went to bed about like 9:15. We stayed up because we were watching the World Series, baby. Woo!
That's why we staying up.
Incredible. I went to bed at 10:30 in the 15th inning. Lights went out. I was like, I'm done. At 10:40, I'm like, I got to get to sleep. Like, I don't want to, but I have to, right? Otherwise, because I don't want to feel crummy today.
Yes. Freddie Freeman, the hero last night.
Oh, my gosh. Again, man. Back-to-back World Series walk-offs by this guy.
Yep.
Mr. Clutch. He missed one, by the way. He missed one. I believe the bases were loaded, dead straightaway center fielder up against the wall, caught it. And really? That had to be around the 14th inning, somewhere in there.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Unbelievable. Everybody thought, Smith, catcher, hits one deep left center field. Thought it was a walk-off. No, it was caught at the wall. It was just a lot of drama last night. It was one of the greatest games. I mean, you're talking, this game started at Pacific time. It started at like 5:15.
5 o'clock.
Yes.
Yep.
5. Had to finish at like 11:30. I mean, you were talking 3 more innings of baseball after I went to sleep at 10:40. So it had to be another hour, at least, right?
And the last scoring we were talking about was in the 7th inning, and then it went to the 18th inning scoreless. So 11 innings of scoreless baseball.
Unbelievable.
That's a
high drama, man. And in the 15th, there was only one pitcher left for each team.
I didn't know that. Really?
Relievers.
Really?
So Dodgers go up 2-1. Unbelievable game. When I went to bed, Ohtani was 4 for 4, 4 multiple base hits, 2 home runs, 3 intentional walks. I don't know what he did after the 15th inning, but unbelievable.
Dodgers up 2-1 now.
Dodgers up 2-1, baby. That's how we start Dual Coast today.
That's it. Personally, I don't know who I'd like to see win because I have a hate for the Dodgers. But secondly, Toronto knocked the Yankees out. So it is it's a sour, bittersweet game for me, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. I hear you, man.
That's it.
No, and the thing about it is we kind of touched on this a little bit, and we'll transition here, but we kind of touched on a little bit behind scenes, backstage before we got on here. We were talking about the mental fortitude because today we were supposed to have Ryan Phillips on for part 2. He's got the flu. He's in bed. He's got to fly to Thailand tomorrow. And I don't know if you've ever been sick on an airplane, but
that flight.
The thing about it is if you're flying 3 hours and you're sick, okay, the end is going to be near very, very soon in 3 hours. You're flying to Thailand. You're going to be on that plane for a very long time. And the last thing you want to do is have the flu. So we will bring back part 2 at another time. We'll record it. We'll get Ryan on and we want to hear the remainder of the story. But thinking about last night's game, transitioning this morning into what? The mental mindset to be able to play 18 innings in a World Series game. The mental fortitude to be able to handle the pressure moments. There were so many, for anybody watching the game, there were so many opportunities for either team to score after the 9-inning regulation part of the game, right? There was and it's just pressure. The mental mindset to be able to handle that is unbelievable. And, we talked last week and fill us in, Dan, what happened last week with Ryan and our talk in part 1, for anybody that missed it, kind of go back and recap a little bit of that. And we're going to talk a little bit about the mental mindset today.
Yeah, so let's do a little recap. So last week we had on Ryan Phillips. Ryan's a speaker. He's an advocate for brain gut health. He's a TEDx speaker, like I just said. So he had an interesting upbringing, we'll say. So he was a big time hockey player. He played in the professionally hockey in Canada.
Right.
Kind of got caught up a little bit in the drug scene at a young age. He started moving a lot of drugs across the border from the Canadian border into the United States, and he actually got caught, and he spent, I believe it was 500 some odd days in jail, right, Russ?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
500 some odd days in jail. So he actually came back out and started playing professional hockey again. And I think that actually took a lot of mental fortitude to get back into the game, to start playing again. And then he formed himself into this big time speaker and advocate.
Yes.
So we didn't get to hear the resilient side of the story yet from Ryan, but we are kind of, enlightening the guests right now, everybody watching Dual Coast, of how his story kind of came to fruition. But
hey, real quick, I was blown away last week when he talked about how he got caught. He was out hiking in the forest with a small group. He didn't. I don't think he said how many, but there was a few, and they got rounded up when they were hiking drugs. In the forest.
Yeah, in the forest. Yeah, with backpacks on.
And this was pre-drone, right?
Pre-drones. He did say he was good at it, and it sounds like he was good at it.
Yes.
Most people get pulled over in a truck or a van or a car, but he got pulled over hiking.
On a hike.
On a bike.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, I think to be in that setting of being incarcerated for that amount of time, and then to be able to come out and still excel in life, I think took a lot of mental resilience from him. I think took a lot of mental fortitude, because not everybody could do that.
No.
Not everybody could do that. Not everybody could play in a World Series game for 18 innings. Not everybody could come out of incarceration for 2+ years and then say, I'm going to go back at this. I'm going to figure out how to, turn my life around right away.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. He had this mindset that he was, he saw, and I was saying last week, actually, on the episode, it's understandable how he kind of fell into this, because he was at an extremely young age. He was vulnerable. He didn't know if he was going to make it to the NHL at a young age. He was playing extremely high-level hockey. There was a lot of pressure automatically with that.
Right.
And then he saw that he could make money in the NHL, but he also saw a life where he was making money right away with friends that he developed who were in the drug scene.
Yes.
And he said, okay, I see this money. I see it's available to me. I have the friends to do it. I'm going to take this opportunity.
Yeah.
At a young age, you're susceptible to that type of thing. You could say, wow, how do I develop this lifestyle? These guys have a ton of money. They're living the life like I could get this right now. How do I do this?
Right.
And that's exactly what he did. And he took that opportunity, and that's understandable at a young age. You see that. It's not always presented to everybody. But I think to come out of that, I think took a lot out of him, like from a mental standpoint. I don't think everybody could have done that. I don't think everybody could have accomplished that. And it really says a lot about the guy, honestly. And, I think he probably, Russ, I'm going to tie it back into the physical right here, but I think he probably developed a lot of mental fortitude from playing hockey at a young age.
Absolutely.
Having that skill set from playing at those high-level games, from playing under that pressure, scouts watching, possible NHL development. I think he probably developed a lot of the mental skill set that he had, that he kind of carried with him into that incarceration period from sports.
Yes.
You agree with that?
Yeah. And the thing about it is like, he had that kind of pressure, right? Being recruited at such an early age. But there's in a whole different way. We all carry some sort of pressure, whether it's our job, it's our family, it's succeeding at school, right? Whatever it may be. But there are so many things that are out there that we feel the pressure, and then oftentimes we give in to that pressure.
Sure.
Right? We give into that. And he gave into it in that kind of setting that was lucrative, cash-based drugs, and so he felt the pressure on that at such an early age.
Right.
And so as individuals, we've got to build up within us the resiliency to be able to turn away from those things, or to feel like we can be able to handle the situation, right? If we're coming into a test, or we've got to, we're going into a job promotion and we've got to go into an interview, or with family, with kids, the kids feeling like they have to succeed at a high level. There's all different types of pressure. And how can we handle that from a mental standpoint, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's at all levels from an early age, right? As
100%.
parents, we put pressure on our kids, right, to
Yeah.
succeed.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah. Resilience is never built in calm water. It's always built in storms, right? Never built in calm
Absolutely.
water. So, I mean, for him, well, for anybody, let's just say anybody, not even just him, but everybody's got the daily pressures of just life in general. Like you just said, finances, house, spouses, payments, whatever else, job work, occupations. Look, just for instance, Russ has a landscaping business that is, I'm sure, puts a lot of pressure on him every single day. Right? You agree?
Every day. Every day.
Yeah, every single
I
day.
want, I want to make sure my guys are working, right? Every day.
Yeah, 100%. And let's just touch back on something we always touch back on. What is your outlet for that, to trying to deal with that stress from a mental standpoint? You tie
movement.
Movement. You tie in the
movement, baby.
Movement. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that actually ties in. I mean, I don't know what Ryan's standpoint would be on this, but I think he would probably agree that a lot of success and a lot of coming out of the mental strength is developed from physical attribute, from movement. And we've had multiple guests on who have actually preached this whole idea that movement is the key to actually achieving more mental strength and more mental fortitude and more calmness, for lack of better words, I guess you'd say. And even a recent guest that we just had on, Harrison Klein preached the same idea too. And I think the bounce back speed here, like, kind of defines the mental fitness in you. And I think that's the best way I could put that, is how you come out of that situation, like Ryan being in jail and incarceration. Maybe he trained in jail. I'm not sure about that portion, but maybe that's what it took for him to kind of get through that whole idea of it. Maybe he had an outlet in jail. Maybe he read, maybe he learned things. I'm going to make the assumption here, and Ryan will probably maybe confirm this, is that he studied everything he talks about now while he was incarcerated to try to learn those ideas and try to learn from that, and how he developed all this, the brain gut optimization and the idea of certain things. That'd be my standpoint of how he actually had a mental outlet in jail. And I think reading and training might have been those two things. What do you think, Russ?
Yeah, I do. And, the thing about it is I had a great conversation yesterday with a guy who's going to be a guest on our show in the future.
Okay.
And, he also deals with, the mental advocacy side, right? Of, because, there was a period of time, and he was an executive, he was a high level athlete. And so, Eric, we talked about that yesterday in our conversation, and we're going to go deep in that with him when he comes on to Dual Coast. But, the thing about it is, I think that we talk about preventative maintenance, right? Preventative maintenance. We talk about, like, what do we do for a forest fire?
Okay.
One of the things that we've got to do in the forestry part of things is to do preventative maintenance.
Yeah.
Cut down all the underbrushings, trim up trees, go and clean out the forest from all of the underbrushing that's firewood that's going to spark a fire or keep a fire hot, right?
Sure.
So you got to go in, you got to do preventative maintenance to keep the forest fires from just going wild. And for our bodies, we do the same thing. We've got to do preventative maintenance at an early age. As parents, we have to get our kids involved in some sort of sport or some sort of movement at an early age. Schools need to do a better job. Let's call them on the carpet now. Need to do a better job of helping these kids getting out and movement. I drove by a school yesterday and it was just so exciting. PE kids are walking around, they're doing the big lap. They didn't have a track, but they're walking around this field. And so it's all a part of it. And I thought, this is the thought that I had. At that moment, I was thinking, like, schools. Could you imagine if schools collectively started a program first thing in the morning, first period, the entire school starts some sort of 5 to 7 minutes of movement?
Yeah. Yeah.
First period, every class, doesn't matter what class it is, 5 to 7 minutes. Now, cold is you can't go outside because on the East Coast, you got freezing, you got snow, you got all that kind of stuff. But if they just did a little bit of exercise to get the body moving, the mind moving, like preventative maintenance, these are things that we need to be doing in our homes and our lives and our schools and our business, because it's so important, so that we build up within us this ability to know the importance of movement in our life, because something happens from a young age to adulthood to where we lose sight. A lot of people lose sight of the body and how the body affects the mind.
Yeah. It's kind of like building up micro resilience in you, is
There
the
it is.
idea of that. Like
Yeah.
building up micro resilience. So the idea that you want to physically kind of develop a mental strength is the way I'll put that.
Yeah.
You create movement in you or movement with others around you in order to develop this mental strength. And I think it's a daily practice. And we've preached this many times on Dual Coast, but I think daily practice in that idea develops that micro resilience, like you're saying. If these kids were presented with a movement to start the day, that may put them in a better mind frame automatically. Because I know when I used to go to school, it used to be really early in the morning. You'd get there, you'd be dreading the whole day. You didn't have any type of movement. You sat in homeroom, then you went to class. You took a test or whatever like that. There was no movement to start the day. Now I start the day with movement, but you don't have that opportunity when you're at a younger age because you got to do what you got to do there.
Right.
And then it's a, kind of where do you go from there is how I'll say that. Like, okay, I start this day up. My movement feels good. Now mentally, I'm like, okay, I feel better. I can conquer this. I could conquer that. I think those daily habits that you build up give you that mindset to kind of take on more.
Yes.
I think that's the best way to put that. And just touching back again on Ryan, I'm sure when he was in jail, he wanted to skate every single day. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I guarantee he wanted to play. I guarantee he wanted to escape because I guarantee he wanted that somewhat of an escape, that mental strength, that physical attribute to him to develop that mental strength again. I bet he wanted to skate. I bet he wanted to train. I bet he thought about how he could be resilient. And I guarantee you he wanted to be on the ice every single day because that's ingrained in him. One, loved hockey. Two, and that gave him the physical attributes that he wanted in order to develop mental fortitude.
That's right.
So I definitely think that movement, and Ross preaches movement every single day into people. I think that movement is a key to success here as far as building up mental strength. Totally do.
Yeah. It's preventative. It helps us to be resilient, and it helps not only our bodies but our minds. And we get clarity, we get production. There's a feeling of being a calmness to deal with, like when anxiety builds within us or depression starts to set in.
Yeah.
Being able to get outside into nature and to move and to walk is one of the combatants to really dealing with these kinds of things and really falling deeper into those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you get out in the fresh air, the nature. Doesn't matter what it looks like. If you're in the city, find a park that you can walk around. I know the winter is coming, so snow and cold, rainy days. So you got to find another way, another means, because I know people, especially in the East Coast or even the Midwest, like our buddy Jared, who's going to be a guest with us next week.
Yeah.
He's in Minnesota, and he goes, we're getting ready to go into like 7 hours of dark. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, or maybe I said it the wrong way, like, 7 hours of light or something, but it's dark most of the time. Like, let's say out of the 24 hours, 7 of them are dark. 17 of them are dark.
Which weighs on you. That weighs on you mentally.
It
weighs on you mentally. I mean, here we see it in New York already that, it used to get sun would set at 8:30, 8:45. Now it's pitch black. It's 7 o'clock.
Yes.
So, that's, to me, I wouldn't say it weighs on me totally mentally, but it's a little bit of a drag when you get out of work and it's pitch black out and you go to work in the pitch black. You don't see the sunlight all day long.
Yeah.
So, that kind of weighs on my mental hypertrophy, for lack of better words. We talk about muscle hypertrophy all the time. That weighs on my mental hypertrophy.
Yeah.
My brain, mentally, I can't get stronger because I don't see that sunlight. And I talk about this all the time at work. I would love to see a study for the Western and the Southern states' mental health versus the Northeast and the Northwest. Type of idea where in Seattle and Washington, it rains all the time. The Midwest and the North, Montana, all those areas, Minnesota, it's cold. It gets dark quick. It's dark a lot of hours. The Northeast, they have their summertime. New York gets very hot, but it only is about 2 months. And then the sun starts to set a lot earlier. It gets colder out. Like right now, it's about 40 degrees out already. So I would love to see a study with the Western states, Southwestern states, and the Southern states versus the North and the Northwest, just as far as mental health, because we even have had guests on here who talk about seasonal depression. And I
Yes.
think that is a big, I truly think that is a big culprit to a lot of people's mental health is seasonal depression. Because let's just be real. When I'm in Santa Cruz, I feel better because it's beautiful out all the time and it's, you can hit the beach and everything. Summertime in New York, I love Long Island summertime. I love going to the beach, being outside. And then that mindset shifts a little bit away from you because you get something taken away that you can't control.
Right.
There's no control over it unless you move, I guess. But really, that's a little bit easier said than done. But there's no control over it. And I think
Right.
like kind of that. And then how do you rebound? How do you deal with it? How do you bounce back? What do you do? And I think something I reach out to all the time is movement because that's something that makes me feel better. Going to the gym, getting outside, even though the weather's a little bit inclement. But I still think that helps you kind of be resilient. And I think that just that physical movement, either in the morning or the midday or the late night, whatever you want to call it, just getting out there, doing something, those daily habits kind of develop that mental strength.
Yeah. And, for the people that are out there that might be struggling today, with depression, anxiety, or anything like that, this is something that oftentimes it gets so deep that you are going to have a very difficult time recovering on your own.
Yeah.
So the most important thing for each one of you that may be listening that are in that right now is to reach out. You can reach out to Dan or I, but I would really recommend like getting some help.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's something that you don't want it to get deeper into your life.
Yeah.
But the most important thing that we can encourage you is to get outside and start moving your body. That is really the most important, and just breathing in that fresh air. And if that is a challenge physically, start with something small and build up, right? But the most important thing is that you get help, you do the right things that you're supposed to, that you should be doing, and we encourage you. But reach out to us. But if you need deeper help, then get somebody that can, a therapist or whatever, that can help with you, to get past this depression and anxiety and the mental framework of mind that is a struggle for you, that's keeping you locked into life.
Yeah.
And you got to move out and move beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to parlay on that real quick.
Yeah.
Russ. I want to talk about that. So there should always be a balance between toughness and emotional openness is what I think. You need to also be open about certain things. Everybody wants to be the tough person, or I could get through this. I have the strength. I can do this. Sometimes you need to reach out for that help. It's not always that you need to be tough and tougher and tougher and tougher and tougher. Sometimes you need to be emotionally open also. And I think that's overlooked a lot of times. People, have this fear about talking to somebody, have this fear about reaching out for help when they really need it. And they just try to have mental strength. And that's great. And I understand that. And excellent. But you also need to be open with yourself at times too. Like Russ is saying, you need to reach out for help if you need it. It's not something you should always just take on your own. And, we always preach the idea of community, and community is a big thing in Dual Coast. And I think reaching out to your community could also be a positive impact on you. Reach out to people around you, reach out to friends, reach out to family, and then seek professional help if it's really necessary, or really, you feel that nothing else is aiding you. I think that's a wise idea. But you can't just be tough and tough and tougher and tougher and tougher. You have to be emotionally open with yourself too and say, okay, I really need help here. It's not something you should just go through on your own and say, hey, I can get through this. That's not the case. You should definitely reach out to Russ, reach out to me, reach out to professional help, seek medical advice wherever necessary, and reach out to your community and see who can reach out to others around you.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna pick up with Ryan Phillips in the coming weeks,
Yes.
and so you will not miss part 2.
Correct.
Most likely, it's not going to be live. It'll be a recording. He's heading to Thailand tomorrow, so if we record it, it'll be made available for you guys to watch. It just probably won't be the live on Instagram,
Right.
but it could be. But we're going to lean towards recording. But it'll be great to come back with Ryan and to see that part 2 and to see how he has overcome. And I would say completely overcome, because he's still battling with a lot of things, but he is in the process of overcoming.
Yeah.
And you know, he didn't want to use, what was the word he didn't want to use? Was it advocate? He didn't want to be a humanitarian. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's a humanitarian and there's a mental advocate, you know, where he is really helping people to dive in to their emotions and their feelings and everything. So don't miss part 2 of that. Next week, Jared Sebestik is coming on. Great friend of mine. He's in Minnesota. We're going to dive into his past life, his current life, his book. And, you know, it's going to be a great topic. Jared is a great dude. He is doing amazing things, speaking 2 to 3 times per week. And making connections around the country. So Jared is going to be a good friend of mine. He's going to be on next week, and looking forward to that. But one of the coolest things is we are 10 months into this, into Dual Coast. So in January 10th, we're going to have an anniversary edition. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So January 10th, we're going to have a 3-hour episode, probably be around 3-hour episode.
Yep.
Of a different segment for each guest who has previously been on the show. So what we're going to do is we're going to start early in the morning, and we're going to have each guest do about a 10-minute segment. Hopefully we keep it a little bit under that, but we'll see how we do. And each guest is going to kind of talk about Dual Coast and their experience with Dual Coast and what they've been doing for the past year and how we've been doing for the past year. And a little bit about, you know, how they've reflected on Dual Coast after they were on the episode, what they've seen with us, our progress, things of that nature. So every single guest is going to be on for a couple of minutes with us. We're going to do a big live stream. It's going to be live on Instagram, live on YouTube the entire time. Obviously, will be recorded as well for your listening purposes. But it's going to be great. And we're going to talk to each guest that we've had. Hopefully everybody, you know, that we've had comes and, you know, does their 10-minute segment or a couple minute segment. But it's going to be great. January 10th, Saturday morning. And we'll hope to see you guys there.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's been 10 months into this, almost starting our 11th month. And I got to say, you know, a couple of months ago, Dan, you know, hit me up and he's like, dude, you're not going to believe this, but we're like in the top 100 of mental and physical wellness podcasts. We're in the top 100. And then just a few weeks back, he's like, dude, you're not going to believe this. We're number 54. Like, we're climbing the ladder, baby. And, you know, it's, you know, Dan and I can tell you this, we have never had not one discussion about ratings, about being in the top 10, about being number 1. That was never our topic of discussion. But believe me, for all of you who come out and watch us every week, whether you watch us live or whether you watch us on a recording, we so appreciate you.
Absolutely.
You as listeners, you as guests, you as friends, we appreciate you, and we applaud you for supporting us by watching us. And our whole goal, there are 3 things that we desire in this podcast: to inspire people, to motivate people, and to educate people. And our guests are doing that. We have had some tremendous guests on here, and we continue week after week after week. And yeah, we've had little bumps in the road, you know, with, you know, people not being able to make it, like today, you know, sickness, things happen. We understand that. But, you know, the beautiful thing is you get to see the 2 of us.
That's right.
You know, and we get to have fun together. So we're all about Dual Coast. We are Dual Coast.
That's right.
And so, you know, so thank you so much for watching us. Thank you for elevating our numbers, even though we are not numbers oriented. We are about inspiration, motivation, education in the mental and physical wellness part of our podcast. So thank you so much for an amazing, amazing first year.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Please keep checking us out. YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, available on all social media handles at Dual Coast Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And, you know, just to reiterate what Russ just said, we had no idea we were going to be in the top 100 for the next 20 years type of thing. So we didn't really expect those type of numbers. But thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate every single person who, you know, tunes into this, listens on Spotify, listens on Amazon, Apple. Thank you so much. We're talking about possibly developing, even going into iHeartRadio and a couple of other handles, but, you know, we'll talk about that in the near future. But again, thank you so much for listening. And, we'll see everybody next week with Jared Sebesta. And as always, Russ.
Dual coast.
Dual coast. What do we say at the end?
It's not about wellness is not about perfection, but it's about progress. So make sure that every day you have progress. Don't work for perfection. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to live a perfect life. Nobody's going to live a perfect wellness path in a journey. But the most important things is take steps of progress.
Absolutely. See you everybody next week.
We're out.